It's time for PurePerformance.
Get your stopwatches ready. It's time for Pure Performance with Andy Grabner and Brian Wilson. Hello, everybody. We have a special episode of Pure Performance today. My name is Brian Wilson, and I do not have Andy Grabner with me today. I don't even have myself with me today because my colleague, Alois Reitbauer, of Dynatrace, he was so excited about the idea of these Pure Performance podcasts that he went out and bought a microphone of his own and is going to be a guest host from time to time whenever he meets up with somebody who he feels could offer some great insight as well. So today is the first episode with Alois Reitbauer guest hosting. His guest today is Mike Jones, Director of Technology for Prep Sportswear. I think this was a very interesting episode, actually, because we get to get a lot of insight behind what's behind a site like Prep Sportswear. Do yourself a favor and go check out the website so you get an idea of what the front end is, because behind the scenes, there's quite a lot more going on. They're handling everything from not just coding for the website, but IoT type of coding, Internet of Things. So they have to do coding for the embroidering machines, laser cutters, all sorts of aspects of not just the order fulfillment and website, but also the manufacturing of those components. So it's really quite a different take on the standard kind of e-commerce view that or set of responsibilities that most people have. Also in this episode, you'll hear Mike talking about their conversion from monolithic code to microservices and how to get started along that journey, restructuring your team so that you can start meeting some of those business challenges. And they also talk about their APM transformation, how they left traditional monitoring behind and went with more robust APM style monitoring. And he also talks about just some of the tools in general that they're using to help build that team and also to get their work done in general. So I found this one very interesting. I hope you enjoy. Alois is on Twitter at ALOIS REITBAUER. You can follow him there, and I'm sure you'll be hearing some more episodes from him in the future. In the meantime, let me stop delaying and pass it off to Alois.
Hey, this is Alois Reitbauer from Dynatrace. I'm here today with Mike Jones from Prep Sportswear, and we talk about their journey from Monolith to Microservices. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
So, Mike, tell us a bit about yourself and what Prep Sportswear does.
Sure. So I've been with Prep Sportswear for about 2.5 years now. I'm a bit of a veteran. I've been 20 years in the e-commerce space. And I've worked with some brands that folks have heard of. I think Classmates.com, eHow.com. But been here with Prep, and Prep's a great opportunity. There's a few things that brought me here. It's a custom print company, and we do our own manufacturing. It's a U.S. manufacturer. And we carry designs for just about every middle school and high school, grade school in the country. So you can go find your kid's school and buy a shirt with their mascot on it and have your kid's name on the back. Go to their sports games, that kind of thing. We've got a fun product. And the technology is we support the website, but we also support the manufacturing. So I get to work with the website one day, and then another day I can work with an embroidery machine or a laser cutter.
Yeah, I saw that machine just over there. You really the Internet of Things. You guys can see it, but they have this really big stitching machine there where they're playing around with. So it's really amazing.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's a good variety of technology. It's here in the Seattle area, and we've got an amazing view of the water.
Guys, they really have an amazing view of the water. It's 6th floor overlooking the Seattle Harbor. It's amazing here. I really wonder how guys actually get work done over here. It's this amazing view, honestly.
But you can see we're on the side that faces the city, not the water.
The development team is actually looking the other direction. That's true. Okay. So, we wanted to talk a bit about your story from And moving from a monolithic application to the microservices approach.
Sure.
Let's start at the beginning. I think that's a good point to start at. So, how did you get involved, like, in this whole microservices journey?
Yeah, it's when I brought on, we certainly had some platform issues. We had some scaling issues around our peak period. So, like a lot of retailers, Black Friday, Cyber Monday are our big days. And the Cyber Monday before I came on, I think it took something like 22 hours to process all the orders to be able to start fulfilling those things, and that's forever. We also had one of the lead engineers who he was on call, essentially. Our production facility in Louisville, Kentucky, they start at 6 o'clock in the morning, which means if something goes wrong, they're calling us at 3 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. And this poor gentleman, he got a call 17 days in a row at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, there's something wrong with the platform.
Oh, it's good that you guys have Starbucks over here, right?
Yeah, so obviously something had to be done. We looked at doing a number of things, including introducing a service layer, a microservice tier.
So the 22 hours, maybe to put this a bit into context, what's your goal? So how quickly do you want to deliver something if you order it on your website?
Sure. Yeah. So we're a custom print company that sells sportswear. But what that means is we don't have pre-printed product on the shelf, right? So every order that we have has to be. We take the shirt down, we either put it through an embroidery machine or we apply the print onto it. So everything's custom. And what we try and do is ship within 4 days. So if we have a delay of just getting the order ready to get the design and the product ordered, then we eat into that schedule. And we're also talking, this is the run up to Christmas, so people, if they don't get their stuff, Santa's not happy, the kid's not happy. So yeah, time is everything. And the service tier that we're putting in and some of the changes we're doing in our business process is really letting us shave days off of our production schedule. So since we've been changing the technology, we went from averaging 5 or 6 days in production to getting closer to 2 or 3, and we're really looking towards the day that we can do shipping next day, same day fulfillment.
That's great. And for the people listening to the podcast, so how big is your application?
Yeah, so that's another fun thing. When I'm talking about all the different pieces of technology support, almost all of it was written from the ground up. We don't use a lot of third-party libraries. So in order to support e-commerce, ERP, device integration, design, manipulation, all of that stuff together is about 4.5 million lines of code.
Yeah, and you probably have an army of developers working on it, right?
Yeah, right now I've got 5 developers.
You must be kidding me, right?
No, that is it.
So how many lines of code is this per developer? Like 800,000 roughly?
Yeah. If math serves me correct, it's something like that.
So that was then quite a challenge. I mean, just keeping this code up and running must be quite a challenge.
Yeah, I think one of the great stories that we have here at Prep is going from that time where the lead developer is answering his phone every day at 3 o'clock in the morning. We've really been able to get the platform a lot more manageable, a lot more stable, and the phone just doesn't ring like that anymore. This last peak period, we had one issue at 3 o'clock in the morning for the whole month. So using tools like Dynatrace, spending effort on breaking up the platform and just making it manageable, has really paid off for us.
Yeah, so I can imagine, you talked about here, with 4 million lines of code, and you want to do microservices. Totally understandable. You said you wanted to make your platform more stable. You want to have your order fulfillment faster. if you look at 4 million lines of code, so how do you really figure out, so where do you start? Like there's a lot of places where you could start.
Yeah, and I think talking about the fact that we really had some performance issues, this stuff that was kind of on fire. I mean, that's where we started because we had to shore up those services, so that the initial part was pretty easy. We've got to do something about this. Some of the other pieces that we've done, and we're not done, by the way. This is certainly a work in progress. We started with what's on fire, and then we took a look at some of the things that are pretty easy. They don't have entanglements on a lot of the rest of the system, and then we're building on from there.
And what did you pick for your first microservices project? Was it something already in the platform, or some additional new stuff you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, I think the first real standalone service was a new feature. We had so our business model for a long time was a just-in-time model. We didn't hold any inventory at all. So the minute somebody ordered something that night, we'd go order from various suppliers and get it in and ship. For a lot of reasons, we decided to start holding our own inventory. So building that system was the really first standalone system.
And how did the project work out for you? So what were the key successes, the key challenges that you saw in this first microservices project that you guys were doing?
Yeah, I mean the challenges, technically the challenges became really just the touch points with the rest of the monolith. So it's the getting that first feature set out where we're tracking the units and we're inputting them in the system and all that kind of stuff was relatively straightforward. But it's when we started, so the first gotcha case that I came across was, we're tracking inventory against orders, correctly, which is great. We tested that. But then we had another part of the system that was going through, and when there was a problem with the order, it would cancel the original order and it'd create a replacement order. And it would do it, of course, outside of the scope of this new service. So we had all this untracked inventory that was being generated because the other part of the system was changing the state of the order. So, finding those things and fixing that, tearing it out of the state machine, those are the challenges that we had.
So what you're actually also saying is you can't just look at your architecture and say, this is logically a service, this is logically a service, this is a service, and not taking the service and kind of ripping it out of the heart of this monolith. But it's rather really looking at your business processes end to end first.
Yeah. And
seeing how this plays together, because otherwise you end up changing one piece of your system. One business process knows about the new services, the new service.
Yeah.
The other one does not know about it, and then you end up with a great microservice architecture. It's just no longer doing what the business needs to do.
Well, and for us in particular, it's challenging because of we had a ton of turnover. So this 4.5 million lines of code is really built by the original software team over 8 years. Basically almost all those folks left within a few months of each other. So we've got this system, we're all new to the system. The amount of documentation was fairly poor, and some of the stuff that was in there was in Russian, it was outsourced. So, not only do we have a challenge, trying to meet with this architecture, the architecture isn't well documented or understood. So, that's a challenge.
I think it's also in your case an architectural challenge as well. Like you said, okay, we have 4 million of code, it's not documented, it's in Russian, partly at least.
Yep.
It often breaks in production, or it frequently breaks in production. you bring on a team of new guys and tell them, okay, now we're refactoring this into microservices.
Yeah.
So how
I
do
know
you
how
keep
to sell a job.
Yes. Sign up here. So how do you get the team motivated, keep the face up so that they're not afraid, oh, if I touch something, I break even more, like this is like way over my head.
Yeah.
So how do you work with the team, and what's like the framework that you're providing to them that they are happy?
Yeah, and that's really, I think, one of the benefits, as we're moving things onto the services, is we've got separately testable, the new stuff has that in mind. But that's not true with the Monolith. And with that, the Monolith, we've got a little fraction of it is wrapped in unit test. So we end up having a lot of end-to-end test. And, they're expensive to maintain, they're expensive to run. It's, just certainly something that we're getting through. And, it's also helping everyone see the priority of moving things to the new platform. It's just expensive to run this monolith.
And how do you describe this to like you, the business owner? We met your CEO before. So did you walk into his office, say, so listen, we're not going to do anything for the next 6 months to 1 year. We have this new architecture. It's called Microservices. It's going to be great. You guys just have to hold on for a little bit, like a year or so. Or how do you... Obviously, you didn't do that, right?
Yeah, I think he was really cooperative. I mean, everyone understood when you've got a platform that has that many issues, like something has to change, right? So I think, the business understood, why aren't we doing the old thing anymore? Why move to microservices in particular? I think that's something that I certainly had to sell a little bit. And something that they certainly bought on. What
was your key argument there when you sold it to them, especially to business? I mean, they're not technical guys. You can say that's like a clean architecture, they simply won't care, right?
Yeah. I think looking at the landscape and seeing, what some companies like Amazon did, where they're building everything as a service, they're able to expose that and create new markets, where they're not really a website, they're a collection of services. And seeing how powerful that was for them, I think that makes an argument for us where we can look beyond just being a website and be able to provide services.
So you have another story, like you have like a big challenge ahead of you right now, and it has to do with stitching. So I really like that story. So maybe you want to share it, like that microservice story.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This. So one of the stories around the challenge with creating microservices out of what we have, and the reason to do it is our design service. And so we have a couple different techniques for creating our designs. There's embroidery, and there's ink, there's applique. So for embroidery designs, they track how many stitches it is required to create that design. Well, lo and behold, the Monolith, with how tightly integrated it is with everything, if we want to price out a shirt, it actually calls the design service to get the stitch count to figure out if we need to charge an extra $1 for the design. So just the act of putting something in a cart that calls the pricing engine, which calls the design service multiple times to find the price, shows how entangled things are and how hard it is to separate the logic based on the existing implementation. So needless to say, we shouldn't have to count stitches to price a shirt.
Okay, that's something you guys are working on. It kind of like really shows that, again, it's kind of tightly related to your business. First of all, it's about pricing. Mm-hmm. That you have to figure out, as a customer, I don't want to wait. Right. I want to check out and buy the stuff, so please tell me the price of it.
Yeah.
So what I really like about this story is like everything is business driven. People always talk about like microservices, they're driven by business, and they're like this great architectural thing. In your case, I think it's like really perfect, like the inventory service.
Yeah.
That you were talking about. You have another story about payment providers as well. That's kind of ties nicely into like microservices as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you have flexibility there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of the some of the practices with delivering these services, and we can show the business user, hey, here's the status of the service, and here's the number of issues we've had with it. So with payment providers, we're able to really easily expose who's responding quickly, who's up and down, which providers have more fraud scores, that kind of thing. Surface that quickly via just a single service. Whereas before, that data wasn't exposed anywhere, and it was just part of the checkout process. So, we get to surface properties of the service to stakeholders really quickly, and they love that.
Yeah, I want to leap over to a bit of a different topic. You said you could have replaced the whole team, or you rebuilt the whole team.
Sure.
To put it that way. So how did you start with the team?
Yeah.
Or building up the team. What were your priorities? Which people which roles were super critical for you to bring on board first, and how did you go about that?
Yeah, so this has always been a small team. We even with the offshore team, when I came on, there's 20 people in technology. Of that 20, there was one dedicated operations person. So almost everybody was in some kind of development capacity. And we had operations challenges. So one of the first things I did was hire a DBA and a DevOps engineer. So we could, have folks dedicated to solving performance issues and getting that off of the developer's plate. The interesting thing about that is I actually had the developers challenge me on that. They were like, well, no, we need more developers. We got to spend time fixing this. And instead of having folks, take that off their plate. So I did it anyway. And it really proved pretty massive for us. I think we were able to go through that big change in staff with having some key folks, and we ended up having faster services and less issues along the way, which is pretty amazing.
How many people do you have in operations right now?
I've got
a DevOps role, most likely.
Yeah, so I have one dedicated DevOps person. I've got 4 full-line operations engineers.
And I assume they work closer together with your developers.
Yeah, we're all co-located. I've got one IT individual, Chad, over in Louisville on site, but everyone else is right
That's
here.
where your production facility is.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct. So yeah, we're really tight knit. I mean, we're 11 people total, so we have to be tight knit.
Yeah. So tight-knit. I think you guys are also using HipChat and ChatOps a lot to communicate with each other.
Yeah. We're definitely posting charts, asking questions, do a lot of communication there.
What does the rest of your technology and toolchain look like? What are you guys using? We already talked about HipChat, but what other tooling?
Yeah. So we PRTG is our systems monitor. Of course, we're using Dynatrace. We've got a couple other tools that are escaping my mind on the
Jira, right, for tickets?
Yeah.
You just see it on the wall here, guys. They have Jira tickets on their wall.
Yeah, definitely Jira. And I think we were using some older antiquated bug tracking system before. Actually, almost all of our tools are new in the last couple of years. And going with that is, I changed the team around a little bit with responsibilities, but we also really changed as a company as far as adopting agile methods, getting the whole company kind of understanding what the roles and responsibilities were, and then just increasing communication and getting folks aligned on what we were working on. So just that list of bugs up there on the wall, reminded me, kind of coming back to something you were talking about earlier, which was, how did we get through all that change? Well, one of the things we had to do with the business is take a look at that big backlog of stuff and say, look, we've got to kill a lot of the stuff off. We can't do, with 5 engineers and 3 ops guys, we can't do 100 projects and re-platform. So let's throw that out and kind of start over. So we started literally with a new bug tracking system, cleared the decks for projects, and just really started over.
Do you still remember what your issue number 1 was that you closed?
Have no idea. That's 2 years ago. It seemed like a long time.
And for continuous delivery, do you use Jenkins or
Team City?
Team City, okay.
Yeah. We're a C# stack, and Team City works really well with C# projects.
Yeah, which is also kind of interesting because very often you hear people talking about microservices. They use a lot of the fancy new technologies. Not saying that your technology stack is not fancy, but I think you have a kind of, for what you see most out there, a bit of an uncommon technology stack, running on, say, classical .NET.
Yeah.
Put it away.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely looked at Docker or Node or some other technologies that are other folks are using more with microservices, and there's a lot of folks doing great work with that. But for us at the time, I think with the amount of change we had, totally changing our technology platform too was just a little too much to assume at the time. So we're still able to do really good work with the technology we have, and C#. It's not horrible.
I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just like everybody else is using Node.
Yeah.
I think it's cool because adds this variety in there. But you're also innovating on the platform side. So you were just talking before. You showed me your new servers that you just bought, and you guys are also investing in OpenStack, right?
Yes, we are. We're just starting to roll that out. It's really crazy, kind of how much technical debt we had in a number of areas. And we had a mix of virtualization platforms. We had a Hyper-V and I'm forgetting.
VMware?
Yeah, VMware.
That's a small company. That's some virtualization.
Yeah. So I mean, we had a mix of virtualization technologies, and we had just a mix of OS instances, 2003, 2008, 2012. So we're able to, instead of babysitting all of those things and kind of, getting one of those things as a winner, we're just kind of starting over with OpenStack and building from the ground up. And we're going to be able to really collapse our services, the number of instances down, and have a real performant, manageable system.
I think it also plays well into a continuous delivery pipeline because
you
now can really provision hardware and machines as you go.
Yeah.
Well, before you had to do it sometimes manually, you mentioned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being able to spin up new instances, it is pretty magic.
Along the journey, did your approach to monitoring or performance management change from where you started to where you are right now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's obviously going from a place where the platform was having a lot of challenges. Our monitoring system wasn't effective. It wasn't helping us find root causes. It was just that thing that was blinking all the time and sending everyone email. So taking somewhat immature products, we were using What's Up Gold was our system monitoring. And part of it's tool, part of it's practice. I think our one ops guy, when someone would come and say, hey, there's a problem, he looked at 2 charts. He looked at application CPU and he looked at edge network graphs. And if those things looked okay, he just kind of said, I'll go talk to the engineers, which wasn't very helpful. So now bringing in tools like Dynatrace, where the operations folks can actually do that first deep level of analysis And we can also look at trends, see, hey, look, this is a thing that keeps getting in our way. Let's go fix that, and do it as a team effort being led from operations. That's really allowed us to keep that phone from ringing at 3:00 in the morning,
which is huge.
Yes,
especially for the guy who has to answer the phone in the morning. Yeah, another interesting thing that we were talking about before is that you don't have like this typical knock room anymore.
Correct.
You told me you bought a monitor to put it on there to share the data, and you have great dashboards that you showed me that you also built with Dynatrace, really combining also real user metrics, some business metrics like conversions, this kind of stuff. But it feels like monitoring is kind of more integrated into your deeper workflows that you have with HipChat and so it's more ubiquitous than like, okay, this is the monitoring piece. It at least feels to me like this.
Yeah, and I think you got to look over my shoulder a little bit and see some of our HipChat conversations back and forth. And it's, we're looking at some, performance data throughout the day and being able to talk about it. And it's in some cases it's monitoring, hey, there's an issue. In other cases, it's, hey, this data looks a little different. What's going on here? Is that good? Is it bad? I don't know. Let's take a look. So it's certainly more of a just part of our everyday instead of looking at this board that says what's wrong.
So, what are your recommendations? So, I think a lot of people out there, they want to switch to microservices themselves. They have similar problems that you guys might have right now.
Yep.
And after listening to your story, they might think, okay, this is great, I want to do it as well. So what are your recommendations for them to get started? Or what would you kind of give them as a...
Well, I think, certainly if we can do it with this big a code base and this small a team, I guarantee you all can do it. We didn't have the luxury of being able to dedicate a team that's building out the new microservice infrastructure with it, which a lot of folks do.
Do you think, by the way, it was an advantage for you to have that small team because you never had that option?
I think the commitment from the whole company had to be there then. So it's we decided this is what we're going to do, and again we had the backing of the business who said, okay, we're going to take stuff off the queue, and I think having the small team made the investment higher, which made it more interesting to everybody.
What I meant was you didn't have even the opportunity to say, okay, let's keep everything running that we have right now and we build a separate platform.
Yeah.
So it made your decisions much clearer and kept them into a smaller frame.
Yeah. No, that's true too. It's what we first decided to work on was certainly what's getting in our way, and that's technical debt, right? It's how do you solve that, kind of irrespective of are you moving to services or not. It's what is getting in your way, and just find a way to take care of it. And for us, moving things to microservices was that thing.
Any other recommendations you would give to somebody who's just thinking about starting it?
Yeah, I think one of the bigger challenges that we had, you need to certainly understand if you've got a monolithic system, that state machine and what your data looks like there. The services can be really easy to start. That's an attraction, right? You've got this really clear interface, and these are your known inputs and outputs. It's what happens to that data underneath, that shared data. How do you handle those state changes? That for us has been tricky, and I think it is for a lot of folks. An easy answer or a best practice is, well, segregate that data too. That's just not possible for us, for the way we're doing the business right now. So we've got to find some ways to manage that.
Okay, I think that's great advice. I really like your story, and it's really impressive if you walk along the office here and you see the small development team and imagine these 4 million lines of codes. They're rebuilding a platform. They all look really happy, so I assume that didn't get up at 3 a.m. in the morning today.
Yeah, nope, not today.
I think it's really a great story. So, Mike, thanks for taking the time.
Great.
Okay. Bye, folks.
Thank you, Alois and Mike. It was great having you guys on today, and I really look forward to some more of these from Alois himself. And you all listeners may recall the last set of podcasts we just released was with Richard Dominguez of Prep Sportswear. He had a little bit of a different take and a different angle of the aspects of what they're doing. So I find the two of these back-to-back to be very interesting and really helps fill out a complete picture. So that's it for today. If you have any questions or comments, or you would like to be a guest on the show, please reach out to us either via email at pureperformance@dynatrace.com, or you can reach us by sending a tweet to #pureperformance@dynatrace, and we'll be happy to entertain the idea of you being a guest star on the show and claiming your 15 minutes of fame. We love having guests, really, though, and we find these conversations fascinating. So until next episode, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you soon. Good luck with all of your performance. Goodbye.